Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. Well, the first day of new travel restrictions, but all is calm at airports. That's good news. There is a wait of 5 to 6 hours for RT-PCR results for travellers at-risk nations. Chennai cuts rates for these tests. Meanwhile, India announces that regular international flights will be deferred. They won't start from 15th December as announced. Air bubble international flights will continue. Maha confusion, however, in Maharashtra and Mumbai curbs for international travellers. Now, COVID tests for all domestic passengers to the state, even if they're fully vaccinated. The centre tells Maharashtra stick to all India guidelines. This is leading to confusion, and there's still now doubts over whether there will be an institutional quarantine for all travellers from at-risk nations. With all these new travel restrictions, there are sky-high airfares. International airfares double on popular routes like Delhi-London, the US and India, and Delhi-Dubai. Mamata's new shot. What is the UPA? There is no UPA as she buries the Congress-led alliance, meets Sharad Pawar in Mumbai. Sharad Pawar, a Congress ally, more cautious, saying we welcome all those who fight against the BJP. The Congress says the fight against BJP has to be in unity, not arrogance. Well, the election battleground as Akali leader Sirsa joins the BJP before the Punjab elections. Meanwhile, in Uttar Pradesh, the Deputy Chief Minister now raises the Mathura temple issues. As after Ayodhya, now it's Mathura next. But Akhilesh Yadav's huge rally, meanwhile, in Bundelkhand, a BJP bastion. Commercial LPG cylinder prices up by 100 rupees. The price is now over 2,000 rupees. Petrol prices in Delhi down by 8 rupees as the state cuts VAT. A major road between to the holy town of Tirupati is now damaged after torrential November rain. Pilgrims are asked to postpone their visit. They can have free darshan now for up to 6 months. These young Kerala models died after being chased by a drug addict. The Kerala police investigation's shocking details reveal what actually happened with these two young women. Our lead story tonight, India will not allow scheduled international flights or regular international flights from 15th December as earlier announced. However, flights in the air bubble will continue. This comes as countries around the world are imposing travel restrictions after the Omicron threat. Also, the news is coming in of the first day today of tough travel restrictions, mainly that passengers from at-risk nations, which includes the whole of Europe, the United Kingdom, Singapore, China, Bangladesh, can't leave airports without the results of the RT-PCR tests. The good news is that all airports had prepared and the situation was mainly calm at all major international airports as the new restrictions came into place today. However, the wait there is up to 5 to 6 hours for the results, so factor that into your travel when you are flying into India.
Omicron-triggered curbs have started, but at India's top international airport, chaos has largely been avoided, but not confusion. Naga Manoj, an engineer from Ireland, an at-risk country, landed in Chennai for an emergency. His baby is in hospital in Coimbatore, but after flying nearly 48 hours with 3 transits, he has got another 6 hours to go for his RT-PCR test result, and he's missed his final connecting flight.
I traveled in really emergency thing. My son is not well and he is in ICU. So I would suggest to consider that, because in my case, I've taken the rapid test in Ireland and I'm fully vaccinated.
Anita, a doctor returning from Netherlands, where there are 16 cases of the Omicron variant, had no clue of what was in store.
The procedure was not that systematic. They said that they received the information just in the morning 12 o'clock regarding this PCR test, and the systems is not that proper, so it took a long time.
None among the 88 passengers from at-risk countries tested positive. Chennai receives around 40 international flights every day, While the situation at the moment is smooth and under control, the real challenge will be from tomorrow morning when flights from European cities including London and Frankfurt would land.
In case we have to increase the capacity, we have done an analysis about the number of flights coming and total number of passengers at a particular time. That comes around 650. So as and when the passengers number is increasing, we'll go up to 700.
At the Delhi airport, Kunal Thakur, who arrived from London, says he had to wait for 4 hours despite paying for the quicker rapid PCR test.
फ्लाइट कितने बजे लैंड?
7 बजे।
7 बजे। हाँ। और निकलते निकलते कितना टाइम हो गया?
11 बज रहे हैं सर।
तो मतलब तकरीबन
4 घंटे।
4 घंटे।
With a high number of international flights landing in Delhi every day, authorities say they ramped up testing capacity. Still, the wait time was terribly long. In Mumbai, little signs of chaos thanks to several testing labs at the airport. A dedicated transportation lobby is ready to shift positive passengers for quarantine.
International passengers arriving from at-risk countries will be tested for COVID at the airport, and this, of course, you can see are the several labs that are being set up here. This is, of course, the situation at the Mumbai airport as of now. From the outside, one doesn't really get a feel of what's going on because there are several counters and several labs that are conducting these tests here.
The Omicron scare has shaken international travel, and the hardship to passengers is bound to increase with a list of at-risk countries on the rise. With Saurav Gupta in Mumbai, Akshay Dongre in Delhi, with Suresh in Chennai, Sam Daniel, for NDTV.
Remember, Delhi and Mumbai are India's busiest international airports, so the situation there calm today. Let's see, hopefully that continues tonight as well. But in Maharashtra, there is major confusion because first, last night, an announcement that all passengers from at-risk nations will be taken into institutional quarantine. That's been postponed now till the 3rd of December. That means all passengers from these nations, which is nearly 60, have to go to either hotels or to government COVID centers. However, there may be a rethink on this, but today Maharashtra has also announced that all passengers coming into Maharashtra, domestic passengers, even if they're fully vaccinated, have to have a negative RT-PCR test. The centre has asked Maharashtra, why is there a variance between the state's guidelines and all India guidelines? But Ditya Thackeray, speaking exclusively to NDTV, said that Maharashtra has suffered a lot and they will have extra caution and guidelines in place for the state.
There are certain things that we'll have to probably have in a stricter fashion, because if you see last time also we were hit first, we were hit the hardest. And in the sense of, even being accountable and transparent, we were always accountable and transparent and have been, so we need to be a little more cautious about our state, because we have a lot of floating population that comes in and goes out, not just in terms of tourism, but in terms of business, commerce. So we need to protect the interest of the state in terms of everyone who comes here for tourism, or trade, commerce, or for whatever reason.
So, well, most states are sticking to the broad guidelines issued by the centre, which includes, of course, that you have to test at the airport if you're from an at-risk nation. If you're positive, you're taken immediately to hospital. Otherwise, you have to quarantine at home. Karnataka's chief minister has also said that they're imposing fresh testing also on students coming from Kerala, because that state still has high positive cases.
ವಿದೇಶದಿಂದ ಬಂದಂಥವ್ರದ್ದು ಅವರ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಟೆಸ್ಟನ್ನು ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಎರಡನೇದಾಗಿ ಕೇರಳದಿಂದ ಬಂದಂಥವ್ರು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇರಳದ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾಫ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನಿಗಾ ಇಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾಧಿಕಾರಿ ಸೂಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿದೆ.
Well, of course, with all these new restrictions and curbs and India's announcement today that it won't resume regular international flights, there's been a huge impact on ticket prices. In fact, prices are now double on all popular routes from India to international countries, and that's if you're lucky enough to get a ticket in the first place.
Kamran Ahmed works in Riyadh. A frequent flyer, he says airfare has never been so high.
Return ticket from Riyadh to Delhi 20-25 हज़ार में हो जाता था, लेकिन आज आई हैव टू पे 50,000, डबल, सो नियरली डबल. और दैट टू व्हेन आई बुक्ड 2 हफ्ते पहले. अगर कोई 3-4 दिन पहले इमरजेंसी में आएगा तो वो तो 1 लाख रुपए 1.5 लाख रुपए देगा.
Kuldeep Singh, who returned to Delhi from London, had to pay almost 100% more for his wife's ticket because it was bought 5 days later.
बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़े हैं. मेरी अपनी टिकट चेक कर लो, वो 450 440 पाउंड की आई है. वाइफ की उसी डेट की उसी टाइम की वो है और 891 की पाउंड की आई है, डबल हो गई है. पर मैंने ऑनलाइन रिटर्न करवा दी, वो पड़ी है हमें 900 पाउंड के तकरीबन.
The Omicron effect on airfare. A Dubai to Delhi ticket now costs 34,000 rupees, up approximately 15,000 rupees in 15 days for a round trip. A New York to Delhi ticket now costs approximately 1.68 lakh rupees, up approximately 75,000 rupees from 80 to 90,000 in 15 days for a round trip. Singapore to Delhi now costs approximately 31,000 compared to 22,000 for a round trip approximately 15 days back. The sudden Omicron restrictions and limited air bubble flights have sent airfares soaring, say those in the industry.
Reality is that the number of flights sort of operating in all these long haul routes as compared to what it used to be in steady state pre-pandemic are a lot lower.
In the absence of intervention by the government, limited flights, Omicron scare and restrictions on air travel has resulted in sky-high airfare prices. And while many people can afford to pay large sums of money to return home, many simply do not have any other option. With camera person Sushil Rati, I'm Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
Well, let's just look at the international picture. So far, we know that the total cases of discovered Omicron is 249. That's up 44 in 24 hours. Also, interestingly, while most cases are in South Africa, news has now emerged that the first cases in the Netherlands were actually found much before the South African cases. So, even before South African scientists went public with this variant, it was already there in the Netherlands. Perhaps reconsidering all the bans on South Africa, France has now said that they will lift curbs on flights from South African nations from this Sunday. Also, here's the good news. The good news is that the European Centre for Disease Control has said that of all 44 cases in Europe, all the cases are mild with very little symptoms. None of them are hospitalized and there have been no deaths. So that's really a big indicator and good news that of the 44 cases in Europe so far, there's been no hospitalizations or any deaths of those with the Omicron variant. Let's move now to the big political headlines. And Mamata Banerjee, West Bengal Chief Minister, met Sharad Pawar of the NCP and a key member of the government alliance in Maharashtra, where when asked that what about the UPA alliance, the Congress-led alliance which was in government earlier, Mamata Banerjee said, where is UPA? What's that? It doesn't exist anymore. Sharad Pawar is more cautious, but the signal clearly out there from Mamata Banerjee is that it will not be a Congress-led opposition alliance. Meanwhile, the Congress has hit back, saying that at this time the fight against the BJP should be one of unity, not one of arrogance.
आपको लगता है कि शरद जी को अब यूपीए का नेतृत्व करना चाहिए, चेयरमैन बनाना चाहिए?
अरे क्या यूपीए? अभी यूपीए नहीं है. यूपीए क्या है? क्या करेगा बैठ के?
Latest political bombshell from Mamata Banerjee after her meeting with another top opposition leader, Sharad Pawar in Maharashtra, a state, ironically, where the Congress is a partner in power. But as Mamata ramped up her blast the Congress approach, Sharad Pawar, a Congress ally in Maharashtra, took a more cautious line.
सरोज जी क्या बोला? एक ऑल्टरनेटिव स्ट्रॉन्ग होना चाहिए जो लड़ाई करते हैं. अगर कोई लड़ते नहीं है तो हम क्या करें? हम चाहते हैं कि सबको लड़ाई करना है, लेकिन में रह के.
Intention is, in today's situation, national level, right-wing forces has to come together. They have to set up a collective leadership platform, and we have to provide a strong alternative to leadership. Overall thinking is not for today, but for 2024 election. This platform has to be established, and with that intention, he has visited and she had a very positive discussion with all of us. कांग्रेस या किसी को लेना, सीधी बात एक है कि those who are against BJP, if they come together, they are very.
The Congress hit back.
कांग्रेस ही उसका एक पर्याय बनता है और इसलिए स्टेट लेवल की जितनी भी पार्टियां हैं जो बीजेपी के साथ विरोध में लड़ती है, वो सभी ने कांग्रेस के ही नेतृत्व में यूपीओ में आकर इस बीजेपी जैसी व्यवस्था को खत्म करने के लिए एक साथ आना चाहिए.
Calling an end to the UPA is keeping with Mamata Banerjee's recent stance of going all guns blazing against the Congress, as she appears to be positioning herself as the main national opposition against the BJP. But is it realistic, especially in the context of the general elections? In the 2019 Lok Sabha polls, there were around 190 seats in which it was a straight fight only between the Congress and the BJP, of which the BJP won over 170. It is highly unlikely that Mamata or any other party can replace the Congress in those seats before the 2024 Lok Sabha polls, making the Congress a crucial element in any national opposition to the BJP. In an earlier meeting with civil society and the film industry, Mamata took a less harsh tone.
India is a vast country, and India there are so many multi-political system is also there. So what is going on Maharashtra? Why we will be disturbing that system? That we are not. Where there is no possibility, where Congress is not going to compromise. The fight means compromise means they are not fighting the battles. There BJP is growing. There we will not allow BJP to grow. There we have to work together.
The question everyone wanted to ask came from socialite and author Shobha De.
Who should be the next Prime Minister of India?
As a citizen of this country, you can also do it. You can also do it. You are also very popular. Now the matter is not for Prime Minister. The matter is the great importance whether we are able to save the democracy or not.
Most analysts say that an opposition formation against the BJP without the Congress isn't really going to be effective and in fact will help the BJP. But if this makes the Congress wake up from its slumber and work together with other aggressive opposition parties jointly, then the opposition does have a chance. In Mumbai with camera person Sanjay Mandal, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Well, a quick look at news from states going to the elections, and the BJP made a key acquisition ahead of the Punjab elections. A key Akali leader, Manjinder Sirsa, has joined the BJP today. He was, of course, close to Badals and headed the Delhi Sikh Gurdwara Management Committee. The BJP in touch with many Sikh leaders like Sirsa in Punjab there. And from UP, well, the Deputy Chief Minister today tweeting that after Ayodhya temple construction, the next will be that in Mathura. So this sudden tweet by the Deputy Chief Minister making clear what the BJP's political agenda will be. Meanwhile, Akhilesh Yadav today in the BJP bastion of Bundelkhand addressed huge crowds at a rally there. He's begun his yatras around the state, as the BJP has also announced now after Akhilesh's yatras that they will also begin yatras across UP. Well, some other news. Prices up again, this time of commercial LPG cylinders increased by over 100 rupees. That means that commercial cylinders will now cost over 2,100 rupees, at least for the 19 kilo cylinders. But some good news in Delhi, as petrol prices are down by 8 rupees after the Delhi government has decided that it will cut VAT on petrol. In other news, well, the road from Tirupati to Tirumala has been closed after fresh landslides. Tirupati, of course, the holy town of Tirupati is the most visited pilgrimage site in the world. Devotees have been told not to come for the time being because of the damage to this road after torrential November rains. Also, that the darshan times will be adjusted for free for the next 6 months. But for now, don't travel to Tirupati because of this extensive road damage. Our special report. The death of these young models in Kerala had raised many questions, and now police investigation says these young models who were at a party were actually speeding because they were trying to get away from a man who's an alleged drug addict. The police investigation has shocking details.
The man blamed for this horrific crash that killed 2 young models in Kochi has been arrested, exactly 1 month after the deadly accident. Miss South India Ansi Kabir and former Miss Kerala Dr. Anjana Shajan, both in their 20s, along with their friend, got killed when the car in which they were travelling, driven again by a friend, was chased by a suspected drug addict, Saiju, who had attended a party at the same hotel. Saiju had allegedly targeted the two models and had chased their car even after they left the party.
Stalking intention. He had a bad intention. That is very obvious. The behavior, previous conduct, the conduct matching. Main
According to the police, Abdul Rashid, the lone survivor in the car that crashed into a tree, though drunk, had been driving the car at normal speed, but started speeding when they realized Saiju was chasing them.
As per police reports, the incident happened due to the chase, and chase was triggered by Saiju alone. So why did hotel owner Roy Violat panic and destroy the footage? A strict action should be taken against him as well.
Saiju's police custody has been extended till Thursday.
Police suspect that Saiju has links with dealers and drug rackets, but are probing this angle further. While the loss of these young lives is irreplaceable for their families, some have demanded for a CBI probe. With camera person SP Babu, Sneha Koshi for NDTV.